Welcome back to Fixing with Friends. Today I'm going to show you a new vehicle that I bought. I tried to stream it, but for some well, I guess streaming outside in this area doesn't work so well. Anyway, this is it.
So this is a Jeep J20 3/4 ton pickup with a 5.9 liter AMC V8. And when I say Jeep, this was before AMC was bought out by Chrysler in 1987. Initially, the J series was sold as the Gladiator for its first model year of 1963, and with few changes over the years, it had grown a bit stagnant by the time it stopped production in 1988.
So as you can see, floor is a bit rusty there, but everywhere else is pretty solid. I mean, this is pretty hefty. It is four-wheel drive. No idea if it works or if it runs, which is what we're doing now. Pulled that out. It's missing some things. Like whatever that was. I'm pretty sure that's one of the fuel lines. No. This is a fuel line. And that's a fuel line. Or did these both run to the back of the fuel tank? If so, what else is missing? This isn't connected, but I do believe that should be able to at least connect to a new fuel pump. It will need to be cleaned out. I'll need to grab an air hose and maybe WD-40. Interesting combination of bluish green and pinky orange. Vacuum reservoir needs replacing. No battery, obviously. No battery tie down. The radiator, I did put some fluid in. It appears to hold water, at least at ambient, which doesn't say much. The wiring is a mess. There's no thermostat housing, which is something that I should have ordered and need to order. The distributor at least exists, power steering. Interesting double belt system it's got here. The brakes at least seem to work. So I did a bit of glancing around to reacquaint myself, and here's what I found. So these two go to the main fuel tank in the back. These two hard lines here, this one and this one, run to, or did before someone cut the hoses. They run over to these two reserve tanks, which, you know, are kind of cool, but are undoubtedly just filled with rust and kind of pointless. There are aluminum ones I could replace them with, but honestly, I don't know why I would. I mean, if I need another tank, I'll probably just put another one under the bottom. I did notice it's not really... I guess maybe I could put a spare tire there, but it's nowhere really good to put one. Maybe I could just strap it up in the corner or on the roof. No, that would just be stupid. I mean, it'd be kind of nice if the engine bay were even larger and you could just throw one on top, but especially with tires this size, that's not going to happen. The truck, if I've forgotten, is lifted. Probably won't stay that way. This isn't the original grill, someone else put it on. So I'm going to be pulling that off and swapping it. I mean, there's hoses all over that don't connect to anything. This is probably going to be a nightmare for me, especially if I start having to get parts right off the bat. There is that, well, I don't know if it's still there, but I was going to get another donor truck or wait around and maybe fix it then, but who knows how long that'll be. And I don't even know if I want to keep this engine, because if this engine is too much trouble, I'm just going to swap it. With what? That's going to be a surprise. But anyway, if I start doing that, it's going to start costing a fair bit of money. Although, maybe not too bad compared to the cost of... Because you saw the tailgate. It would be nice to have a parts truck, but the other truck was not in fantastic shape either, and it's a J10, so a lot of the parts aren't even the same. It's only really the body that's useful for the most part, I would suspect. But let's find out if this engine runs. If it runs, then I can look into swapping the carb. A lot of work, but hopefully I can at least get it going, because like I said, this was cheapest four-wheel drive truck I could find. I really only need it to get like stuff from the hardware store, and down the road would be nice to tow some things with it. So it's not supposed to be an immediate thing, just if I can get it running and driving and on the road, it's kind of the minimum bar. So we'll see. So before I even think about getting this to start, I'm going to need to find like a wiring diagram or pictures of this actually complete, see what we're missing, try and get that all sorted out. I mean, I can always jury rig something just to try the engine, which might be what I do, but you know, a lot of the stuff you might as well fix while you're doing it, because jury rigging, it takes effort anyway. And it's not like it's much more to run one of these non-existent cables to the battery to where it's supposed to go. Once I find out where that is. Like this loom has some things. One of these is probably for the thermostat, or temperature sensor, I should say. But these other things, oof, I'm guessing that goes to your distributor, or sorry, not distributor, coil. Nightmares. That's what I've jumped into is a nightmare. Well, I say that, but the Mustang ended up better than I thought. The value of a Mustang since I bought it has increased by 5-fold, so hopefully I can sell that. Can you even see? I can't see the screen. Crap. Yeah, this is going to be a thing. I don't know if I'm going to just upload this as a video and then add everything else in later when I actually get around to it, because it might be a little while. It's not going to be today. The coolant I'm not worried about, because that was me from when I tested filled the radiator just to see if it was leaking anywhere. Alright, well, I guess that's it for this video. So, we're back.
The previous owner told me the fuel pump needed replacing, so we're starting with that.
So what do you think? Is it 14 millimeter or 15? First guess was right. That's nice, at least. It's a bit unpleasant doing this in the below water freezing temperature. I think I'll have to do this from underneath so that you guys can see. I love that the deer chose today to leave a whole bunch of fresh droppings right where I need to lie down. Such speed. Little bits of who knows what falling in my mouth. I think that's grass. I hope. There we go. Look at that. A little bit absurd for a fuel pump. Did you think I can find the other one without looking? I have doubts. There we go. It was a challenge, but I identified what all the different holes are for the truck. Oh, this one was obvious. This one at the back is a vacuum port, and I'm going to use it for the brake booster. So I bought this. I just need to buy the 3/8 inch hose. I'll break the plastic thing. This is for the coolant line. I've ordered a fitting. It should be here tomorrow. It's a 90-degree bend. It'll go into this, which goes to the heater core. The guy didn't quite order what I asked for. The flange isn't quite large enough, I don't think, for what I'm using it for, but we'll see just for now, and then worst case I will get one of the ones that runs straight up and down, which is not ideal. This 14mm wrench fits like perfectly on here. Is that how I want it to go? Yeah, why not? See how easily that slides on? That's definitely going to be a problem, but we'll see for now. Okay, I think that's pretty tight. Still might not be tight enough, but... Okay, well, I'm going to plug this hole first, I think, so that I don't get sand or rust dust down in it. Oh, as little as possible, anyway. You know what? I think I'm going to go back and grab saran wrap. That should do the trick. So what I did was I popped it into the snow so it would cool down, and then I put it back in. If I had a propane torch and heated up the intake manifold, I could have cooled this down at the same time and probably just dropped it right in without having to tap it. I'm going to hit this down a bit more, but what actually goes on top of this is not your normal screw cap, but it's actually a PCV valve, so the crankcase ventilation comes through here instead of the valve covers, which is an interesting combination. It doesn't actually even twist in or anything, it just kind of pops down there. So this truck is going to be a very make work sort of vehicle. You stay. Of course I dropped it. Of course. It fell all the way down into a puddle. Let's climb into the engine bay. It'll be fine.
I managed to pick up a 90-degree bend at the local parts supply store, but it also had a bung, which is a little annoying because it adds unnecessary cost and complexity.
These are just for now. I'll probably pull them out, throw nylon thread locker on it, and go from there. But here's how this is going to be plumbed.
Because I couldn't find the original part, I ended up ordering a vacuum manifold from Amazon, which will let me take the 3/8 feed and split it to the distributor, the vacuum reservoir for the heater, and to the EGR valve.
Come on. This better not be the push rod style. Alright, let's try this again. So the fuel pump didn't fit, and I'm going to give you a chance to guess as to why that is. So this is the one I pulled out, assuming it was the original one. Okay. So when I pulled it out, I noticed something here. Here, let's see if I can hold these sideways and be in camera. So this is what I noticed. They bend in opposite directions. So I had to ask myself, did I end up with the wrong one? Was this one not the right one to begin with? Is it just broken? I don't know. But then I noticed something, and perhaps you can see right here. This. So when I had felt inside to see what it was hanging up on originally, before I even noticed that the arms are in the opposite directions, is that the cam is kind of right in the middle. So I was thinking, oh, maybe it goes on top. Well, it can't because it only pushes in one direction. That doesn't make sense. But as you can see here, this one gets installed upside down. So this is something to be aware of for anyone replacing fuel pumps on the AMC 360 / the 5.9 liter. It's the same. But I'm sure other vehicles have the same issue. So I'm going to reinstall this, and it's going to sit on top of the oil cam lobe instead of underneath it. Now, fitment wise, I don't know if that's going to cause me problems, but we'll find out. There. I pulled one of the bolts out. You can see the problem a little bit better now. So that's where it's hitting, and it needs to sit upright. So this
has to be over here, but like this. So I'm really gonna have to file that down if I hope to use this pump. That's annoying. Make your parts better, man. All right. See what we got here. Now, remember to resist the urge to immediately touch the surface you just ground out. It's probably really hot. Let's see what we've got here now. Oh, need to pull the rag out first. It's a long day, and it's just started. All right, let's try this again. Okay. So now it's pretty close. I'd say that's flush. Hopefully I can get the bolts in. I think I want to put this side down first, because it's the one that sticks out more. So I don't have any of the torque settings for this, which is a bit annoying. I'll try and find them later, but for now I guess I'm gonna have to take the GNT approach to everything. Good and tight. Good and tight. Okay, that's dumb. I'm not saying that every time. I picked up a coolant temperature sensor, and that's where that goes. This is why you put them in sleeves, not just throwing them in the box with this thing. That is mangled. Luckily, I have another one. Bloop. I hope this isn't cross-threaded. That would really ruin my day. So I finally got this flare nut in, but man, was it ever a pain in the butt. I do not recommend the fuel pump in this orientation. It is one hell of a nuisance to tighten down, whereas I would already have been done several times over were this in the downward orientation. So now I need this 14 millimeter, slide under the 13 millimeter. And since I don't really care about that fuel line, I'll just kind of bend it as I like after it goes into place. I don't think it was the original one, but maybe. Yeah, I'm not tightening it any more than that because it's just going to round the nut. Really doesn't want to go on there, does it? Okay. Flare's there, so it needs to go a little bit further. Don't tell me I cut off too much though. Yeah, that way was definitely easier. Alright, now for the inlet to the pump. Back down into the extremely slippery and wet and poopy place. It is down here. That's sliding on concerningly easy. So, here's a question. Do we think the cap will fit on the random tube that I put in? We're going to look out. We will not. So I'm going to have to put a little ring insert in there. Maybe a chunk of copper tube just to neck it down. Anyway, that's on for now. The oil is more or less sludge at this point. I wanted to show you the oil. It does have some, but it basically looks like it's as bad as a tractor, and it's probably way overfilled. yeah, overfilled. But anyway, normally I would not ever start a car with oil like that. I would just replace it, but since we don't know the condition of the engine, we might as well give it a try. And if it starts, fantastic. We'll turn it off right away, dump the oil, add the coolant, and give it some more testing. But if not, well, then I guess we'll talk about our other options. I'm going to fix up those lines after, but it's getting kind of dark, so we're going to try and get it started. The last couple things are just the battery cables and putting some fuel in it. Oh, and the coolant, just filling the coolant. So I gotta hook these hoses back up. And yeah, let's get to the battery first. All right, so I hooked the battery up with some very loose connections. I don't know how well that's gonna work, probably not well. The guy I bought it from said this was the power cord, and I was like, no, I don't really think so. I followed this along and it runs towards the back of the truck, so I'm thinking at some point someone had an electric fuel pump hooked up to this, which, so perhaps I'll leave it for now and do the same down the road. Well, inevitably, if I end up swapping the engine or something, I will. But let's give this a try. I didn't hear any clicking. The solenoid might not even work. I don't know if any of the wires are hooked up where they're supposed to be, but the battery works, so I don't know. Let's just try. So I don't remember which of these keys is the right one. I think it's this one. So I'm not hearing any sound at all. That's not a good sign. Okay, but the starter works and it cranks. So let's grab some fuel and come back. That was easy. This thing's seen better days though. So the thing I hate about these jugs is they don't have the vent on the back, and these hoses or filler tubes are not long enough, and they don't have the strainer they used to. Which means you can't fill the whole... Come on.
So even if it does start, it's going to be interesting to try and pump the throttle without a bracket to hold the throttle cable. Well, let's give it a whirl. So first, we're going to have to crank it a little to get the fuel actually pulled from the tank to the carburetor, and then we'll actually see whether or not it starts. But might as well place your bets now on whether or not it starts. It doesn't sound good at all. Probably need the throttle open while I'm doing this. Does this even pull the throttle open? That does a bit. Check if there's even fuel in the lines. So, does not appear to be any fuel in here. It's possible the tank is plugged, but I could pull it off and try and suck the fuel out manually, but I don't like that idea. It'd be nice if I could crank it with it held open all the way, but I think I can only manage like this far with the throttle cable as it is. Could try and tape it down to something. But yeah, until this gets fuel in it, nothing's going to happen. So we're going to see if this line is even getting fuel. Maybe. I hate when the plastic pieces are stuck in the hose because, well, as you know, plastic is quite brittle. Maybe I'll grab a flathead, try and pry that loose before I just snap it outright. Of course, the other side spins freely. Annoyingly. Okay, so I'm gonna lower this down, see if I can. No. I'm gonna have to do the like I suck the fuel out in my mouth way. Do I have anything else to do this with? I don't have any other pumps. Do I? No. So gross. That's what I have to look forward to making out with. Now it could be this is also the return line and the previous person put it the wrong way around. I'm gonna breathe that stuff in. Ah! I hate all of you. I'm just kidding. Ah. I'm gonna go wash my mouth out. So I cranked it over a couple more times. It looks like I'm going to have to do this right at the base of the pump to give the pump as much of an opportunity as possible. Alright, here we go again. I'm gonna try and fill the filter. Can't be good for my lungs. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to be a fuel injector? Okay, I don't think that's going to work. But I'm going to at least try and crank it before all the fuel flows back down. So we're going to check if the fuel is pumping now. And I do have a little plastic cup that I could use, but instead we're going to use this brick because it's more thematic. Alright, so you're going to watch this for me to see if fuel comes out. So it started, but apparently it flows a bit more than I was expecting, and that's kind of hilarious. And I'm gonna, I guess, try and wash this up a bit before we try and start this again properly. So we wiped up the fuel, and I have a bucket of water in case there's fire. Okay. Let's get everything clear. Give it another run. I've got some belt noise, but realistically I know it runs. So what I should be doing is dealing with the small little things here and there, like tightening this up, dealing with all of the hoses, getting those to the correct measurements. I guess that means it's time for a montage. Squeezing it a bit too tightly there. Too many things to do at once. Nice and soft compared to the other one.
fact the wrong size. Okay. I don't know if this container is big enough. Oh, that's cool. I need to set this down. Oh, shit. Well, that was a waste of money. I did not see that on the dipstick. Is that just a fluke? Was that something else I touched? Nope. No, it was not.
Molasses. That's what that looks like. Could just make a ASMR Goop stream. Pretend it's chocolate. Well, I have never filled a vehicle with old oil before. I do change my oil quite regularly, so it's not that bad, but I am not dumping $50 of oil in this thing if I have to just pull it all apart and replace the head gaskets just to get it insured so that I can then later swap the engine out. It's like, I don't even know if replacing the head gaskets is worthwhile, or the money I spent on these hoses. Well, I don't even know if it's the head gasket. It could be something else, but it could be the intake manifold gasket. At least it's better than what came out. It's a little more fluid now. Alright, let's see how much it takes. So there's 2.5 liters in this bottle. And there's a little bit more than 4 in the other. Or jug, I guess. How you want to phrase it. I'm holding it the opposite way I normally do, and that damn flap is in the way. It's always that damn flap. Ruins everything. Alright, let's see if it leaks anywhere with me filling it up. Oh, that was more chunky than I'd like, but it's still better than what it's got. Yeah, I mean, you can see through this oil. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Hopefully I didn't just overfill that. Not that it really matters at this point. Okay, so I will say, well, we'll start the engine up and see how it settles out. But I'm going to say it took 4 liters. 4 liters is about what you want to fill it to. Maybe start with 3.5 and then go up from there. All right, let's see if we can get this mistake started again. Doesn't sound good so far. Is the battery dead? Not good contact somewhere. Alright, I'm gonna go fiddle with things. I think the neutral bolt just wasn't in a good spot, so I moved it. Alright, let's give it a go. Cable's a bit of a problem. So it's got an exhaust leak, and the throttle cable can't figure itself out. But it starts, and it runs. Should have bought literally anything else. Right, now we see if it moves. Didn't like that. Can't even find the gears, it's like. Apparently reverse does not exist at all. So I pop it down into reverse, then I let the clutch up. Part of the problem is it's probably idling way too damn high. And then it knocks itself back out. If I hold it, I don't like that at all. Well, I guess we'll see if it goes forward at all. Apparently it just does not like going in gear. Oh. Durr. Okay, so I put it in 4 low. Now I've got it in reverse. And it's popping out again. Okay, well, whatever. I'll go forward. But because of that throttle cable, I can't do anything else. So reverse basically doesn't exist, and that's a bit of a problem. Let's try too high. And now it's back to not wanting to start. Okay. 3. I can't go into that one right now. 2. I might have to adjust linkages or things to be able to get reverse because it's close. It's just not in it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's all it is. And then I have a driving, sometimes running truck. Maybe I'd flooded it before. Oh, it was close that time. Okay. So I don't like any of this shaking or anything. It sounded more like it found a gear. I didn't see, did that just bump it out? I hope I don't have to pull the thing apart and
Rebuild the transmission or the transfer case.
But there's a non-zero possibility that that's the case, and I don't like that. I don't know if you can see, but the 4-wheel drive indicator at least works. It's quite helpful for making sure that it's in neutral, because there seems to be one extra notch than it needs. Okay, I don't know. It runs, at least. It runs.
Well, thank you for watching. I know that was a long one. I just didn't think it made much sense to break that down into a bunch of videos just to see if it starts. So, If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you want to follow along, you can subscribe. Eventually we'll continue with this, and I'll probably call it just the J series. For the next videos, we'll probably finish up the Mustang, and you'll get to see what becomes of that. And yeah, otherwise, sorry on that cue. Otherwise, still recovering from being sick, I guess, as you probably heard in the video. But yeah, right now I'm going to go push the upload button. I'm going to add this bit to the rest of the video and then push the upload button. Alright, see you next time.